Hello lovely friends, here's a sneak peek of this starfish bloom. Oh my goodness, what fun this was to create. Thank you so much to Travelling Tramps and to Simply Nanette, your amazing members. Thank you to Kimmer B, my first super thanks. You're so generous. Thank you all. And thank you to my lovely subscribers. I appreciate you all. So today we've got a starfish acrylic pour painting, and it's inspired by the Shelley art bloom technique with a UK recipe. So I've got my pillow, I've got my canvas, and I'm using a really simple palette again of permanent rose. Look at the consistency there. This is a learning for me and hopefully for you too. Now the consistency of these paints is very slightly too thick. And so in my next video, I've got another one which I use with a slightly thinner consistency. And again, right now I'm doing paintings because I tend to upload in advance, that I have thinned out the paints again. So I'll show you all the mistakes I made, all the learnings. In the UK, mostly, I would say all of the pillow paints that we know of, but again, you have to just see what sort of batch you have and what your pillow paint is like, needs thinning out very, very slightly. Now, I didn't realise that when I actually painted this, and I did add a tiny bit of water because I just thought naturally it just felt very, very thick. This is the key thing, is you need the pillow to be thicker than the paints. Oh, here's my magic straw I'm going to use to blow out a little bit. So the pillow paint has to be the thickest, then the paints are a little bit thinner, and the cell activator again is thinner still. So as I go through the video, I'll just explain. So I'm going to use a straw, not this one because this ended up getting covered in paint, but I used another straw a bit later on. And first of all, I'm just trying out the consistencies. Now you can see when I'm actually putting the colours on this tile, even though the painting turns out beautifully, it had a different effect from the desired Shelley art effect, which is to have the cells holding their, holding their shape and spreading throughout the painting. But to be honest with you, I did actually really like the consistency of this painting, and I got an effect that I really liked. But it's all about the learning, and even though I feel it was a beautiful result, I'll show you towards the end what I would have changed and what actually will be different next time. So because this one was very slightly thinner than the other two, I added a little bit more paint and easily stirred it in. It's not the thickest paint, so it was quite easy to do it. So I wouldn't do that with a tube paint. I'd have to water it down first with the pouring medium before adding it. Okay, so now the pillow is down. One of the things I was doing as well, which I've changed, is I was adding far too much pillow. So I'm layering down my pink, and I'm really loving the consistency as I go around my stick. It's got a beautiful sort of flow to it, and you can almost sort of stretch it along. So I'm using pink as my underneath colour, and then on top I'm covering that with my beautiful iridescent blue-green. Just covering all of the pink up because I'd really like the layering to be quite even with those two colours. And on top of that, I've got my blue from Crawford and Black, which is an acrylic paint that is surprisingly good quality. It's very affordable, and if you're in the UK, you can get it from the works, and you can get it online as well. So if you're watching from other countries, of course, you can use any paints that you like, and they all have very different ways of mixing. This is my cell activator. The cell activator needs to be the consistency that will hold its body as you blow it. So I'm blowing with my mouth now, and I'm blowing from the centre out to try and spread the cell activator which is running on the surface of the paint. And can you see a few little cells popping up as it starts to interact with the other colours? That dark blue is a lovely blue to have as a top paint. Apparently if you have metallic or iridescent paints, or particularly metallic paints or piggies on top, it isn't a great reaction with the cell activator. So as I carry on blowing, you can see the pink coming through a little bit. So it's hitting the bottom colour. So at this stage, I thought, well, the cell activator is pretty much spread out. So now what I'm doing is I'm getting my little straw and I'm blowing from the centre out. It's really versatile. It's really strong. If I was to do this in the paintings that I've been used to doing over the last couple of years, it would go in and change the whole painting in a very different way. But these are much thicker, much denser paints. It has a completely different feel to it. So I'm really enjoying the experiment as I go along. So I'm blowing out my starfish legs. And did you know the starfish generally have 5 legs, but they can have 4 legs and they can have multiple legs. So this is my fantasy starfish. You can have them in so many different colours if you look up online, depending which country they're from. I mean, not that they stay in their countries, they go across. You can find so many different starfish in all the different countries in the world. But I just thought this appeared like a little starfish today rather than a flower because of the shape of the legs, even though they're quite chunky legs. So I'm using the rest of the pillow just to fill up the gaps and to make sure there's plenty on there. I probably did use too much again, but I'm just getting used to this paint and how it works. And I found that I don't really like using my torch too much, especially because it's the summer in the UK. I'm using my cocktail stick to burst the bubbles. Now I've not got too many bubbles coming through from the pillow paint. That's a good sign. So now I'm just using my finger just to tease the pillow paint towards the edge. And I'm going to spin it out. And you can see the painting now stretching across the surface. And already I can see that the painting consistencies are very slightly off because the cell activator and the colours below, they're a little bit too thin. So it looks like the cell activator needs adjusting in thickness, and also the paints underneath I'm going to make thinner next time. So I'll be experimenting and coming up with all these different things until I have the bloom that is the desired Shelley art bloom. So I'm just popping a few more bubbles. Now then, this is another thing. I was impatient. I didn't let the paint sit. And as a result of that, there are so many air bubbles. And I was just thinking, oh my God, this is going to be filled with holes. But anyway, so I got my starfish. And at this point, I was thinking, well, it really does look like a starfish because it's got a very slightly webbed effect in between the legs. And I got my cocktail stick out. And I did a little swirl because I can't resist my swirls these days. And I started to tease the paint into a little bit of a point, encouraging that feeling of a leg. Now, you might say, well, actually it looks like a flower to me. And it does when I look at it as well. But I just wanted to call it a starfish because it could be a starfish. Now, I'll let you into a little secret here. Starfish are not fish. They're called sea stars, and they have a number of anatomical features, including gills, scales, or fins. They are invertebrates and are related to sea urchins and sea cucumbers. And since they aren't fish, they are otherwise known as sea stars. I never knew that. I'm going to start putting a nature fun fact in all my videos from now on because nature and wildlife fascinates me so much, and it's the reason why I paint. It's the centre of all my paintings, and it inspires me for everything that I do. So just thinking about the fact they don't have fins, they can't swim. like fish can. However, it doesn't mean they can't move around. They've got 2 stomachs too, and they can live up for, guess how long? 35 years in the wild. The blue starfish has a bright blue or light blue body in general, but I fancied putting a bit of pink in there just because when you're an artist, you can. When you're creating something, it just comes from another place, doesn't it? These creatures get their colour from a blue pigment called leucocyanin and some accessory yellow carotenoids. That's a mouthful, isn't it? The blue starfish has 5 cylindrical arms with rounded tips, and they could grow up to 30 to 40 centimetres in diameter. That's huge. I've never seen one in real life. It's particularly common in shallow water, but it's found in waters as deep as 50 metres. So as we go along now, I'm tilting my starfish out to the side and then back into the middle so it keeps its form, and then out to the next side and bring it back in. Now I want to stretch the legs out a little bit more here. That's why I'm stretching it in this way and being really patient with it. I'm so used to working with much more fluid paint, but I'm tackling the bloom at the moment and I'm really enjoying every stage of the learning. So when we say that they have the ability to have so many different arms, did you know that some species have up to 50 arms and they have the ability to regrow body parts? How amazing. So thorny sea stars are a species of sea star found in the Indo-Pacific regions, and they have rows of spikes or horns on their backs, hence their name, thorny. And the dark protrusions on their backs are a great form of defence against predators, and they scare their predators away by their frightening appearance. That's very cool, isn't it? Okay, so we're almost completely spun out now, and I can bring you up shortly for a close-up. Now I'm noticing that there are cells there. For me, I'm really enjoying the tips of the legs and the little cells there and the swirls. I've learned definitely that the paint consistencies need adjusting, and that's what I'm going to do for next time. So I want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much to Kimmer Buckley. You are my first super thanks, and you're a wonderful person and so supportive of artists. And I just want to say thank you so much for your presence and your first ever super thanks. I didn't think it was possible to have super thanks. I completely forgot about it. I always thought that. And so when it popped up a couple of weeks ago, I was so delighted and had to thank her so much. And to say that this special starfish, this special blue one with the beautiful pink centre, is especially for you today. Now, if you're new to my channel, I would love you to let me know what you think about this, and if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer in the comments below. If you're interested in buying any of my art, please do email me. My email address is in the description. And thank you so much to my members. If you haven't checked out Travelling Tramps, please go to their channel. They're amazing people. You'll be so interested in what they are doing together and their life story and what they've gone through together, and the fact that they wanted to retire and travel, and they're doing that now. And they're just wonderful friends and supporters. And also, dear Simply Nanette. Nanette is a wonderful lady, and if you enjoy cooking and singing, you'll find her channel an absolute joy. So I'm just doing a little bit more spinning here now. And I can't wait to get back into my art studio and mix up my paints and try this all over again with a few different colours. If you've got a colour palette that you really enjoy, really love, please let me know. I'm making a list, and I am doing paintings with people in mind, but it does take me a while because I tend to upload my videos a month in advance. So I have more freedom and I know where I stand with things. So I'm not ignoring you. It just takes me some time to get round to doing it. So I've got a couple more spins here, and I've got the wet result and the dried result to show you, and I can show the close-ups and just point out what I mean by the cells being very slightly on the surface, although when I left it for a while and I gave it a bit of a blowtorch, which always has a bit of reaction with the different consistencies, paints and pouring mediums, it's showing some lovely peacock cells, and I just love peacock cells. So here we are, here's a close-up. What do you think? Can you see that actually the cell activator has held some of the cells, but also it's very slightly melty and very slightly split. It depends what look you're going for, but I'm just loving experimenting, and I know next time will be different again. So I hope whatever you're doing, you're enjoying your creativity, and don't forget that every piece of art that you create and every craft that you do is a piece of you, and that's very special. Wishing you a very lovely day, sending you lots of healing and light and love, dear Kimmer, and I hope to hear from you again soon. Take care now. Have a great day. And thank you to dear August from August Acrylic Art for sending you my way. Please check out his channel and give him some love too. Bye now.